Welcome back. Well, the past and present of a historic Jacksonville neighborhood is the focus of a holiday stroll in historic Durkeeville. Here to tell us about it is Dana Maule, leader of Durkeeville's Community Walks and creator and producer of Moncrief Springs the Movie. Hey, Dana.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, we'll talk about the film in just a moment, but what
Sure.
is the inspiration behind the holiday stroll and what can people expect?
Yeah, so the Holiday Stroll is a community walk in Durkeeville, and the inspiration is actually the film Moncrief Springs. It's twofold. It's a way for me to do some research and have conversations with some of our neighbors and talk about historic and cultural landmarks in Durkeeville. And then it's also a way for people who don't know the stories behind some of the destinations like the JP Small Stadium or even Emmett Reed Park. It's a way for them to dig a little deeper and explore it for themselves.
And so the area we're talking about loosely is kind of known as the Midwest side. It's sort of west of I-95. This walk, I think, sort of meets around Myrtle and 8th.
Yeah, so Durkeeville is northwest Jacksonville, and you can kind of think between, if you're on Myrtle, between Beaver Street all the way down to 13th, where Stanton High School is. And it is not a legally historic neighborhood. It doesn't have that designation yet, but it is one of Jacksonville's oldest historic neighborhoods. There's homes there that date back 100 years, and it's a really, really special part of town.
And some of the history, as you alluded to, is at the JP Smalls ballpark, which is also right at that same intersection. There is a museum there to the Negro League ball players and the
Mhm.
Negro Leagues themselves that played in that area, and also some of the players, really famous people,
Yeah.
Hank Aaron, Satchel Paige, that played in
Yeah,
that
there you
stadium.
go. You know your baseball girl. So, I mean,
Nobody's ever said those words to me before, but
well, you got it. You
a
got it.
little
I
bit of
mean, some
history,
of
not so
the
much baseball.
yeah, the history is there, and a lot of people who, whether you love sports and baseball or not, knowing that Jacksonville has ties to people like Hank Aaron is like OMG.
Mhm.
And another thing that I learned doing research about that park is, that was the only baseball park at a time. So it was for the Negro leagues and white teams when sports was still segregated. And so you had folks like Babe Ruth who came to Jacksonville and would do training camps at that field. And so it has a lot of rich history. And if you are a person who's ever been to the Georgia Florida game, that was played at the JP Small Field. And so there's so many events and people who are tied to Durkeeville for various things, whether it's civil rights history, sports history, art, and that's why we're doing the tour.
And your film, as you said, is a history piece, and it is focused on an area and a springs that I think a lot of people aren't even aware exists, Moncrief Springs. So explain to us relative to that area we're talking about. Where is it? What is it? What's the history of the springs?
Yeah, so I'll make a reference to the map that I brought behind you, and this map is really unique. It was published in the Visitor's Guide, produced by Visit Jacksonville, and the Moncrief Springs would have been located in the northwest quadrant where you see State Road 23, and it's a place of memory because the springs does not exist anymore. The springs would have been right where, if you're familiar with Eartha's Farm and Market,
Mhm.
it would have been right there, and that property was owned by Eartha White, a humanitarian and Black history icon in Jacksonville. And when I-95 was built in the 60s, it dried up the water where the springs was. And so when you go down Moncrief, you can still see like a little creek under the overpass. A lot of people don't even know there's a body of water right there, but it's a tributary from the Ribault River and the St. Johns River that flows right there. But the water levels are very, very low, and it's an opportunity to talk about a lot of environmental injustices that happen in Black neighborhoods. But that is the inspiration of the title, Moncrief Springs, so that we could remind people about that site and about the impacts of different um, administrations and revitalization plans that impact Black neighborhoods.
Oh, fascinating. And one of the things that you do in the film, which is still a work in progress and you're still
Yes,
fundraising for, but
yes,
it has been produced a large extent and a lot of it has been done, including interviews with people who are seminal figures in that area.
yes.
One of my favorites being the story of Holly's Barbecue. Just tell us briefly about why that's such a landmark.
Yes, shout out to Wendy Holly. If y'all looking for barbecue today, please stop by and see Holly. That place is just special to my own experiences growing up in Jacksonville because my grandmother lived not far from there. And I wanted to talk about one, Black businesses in the documentary, and then two, how pivotal they are to the success of Black neighborhoods. And so Wendy was so just on board to talk about it and talk about her dad, Jack Holly, and how he started that business over 80 years ago. And we talked to her, and recently there was some funding that was given to her to help improve the exterior of the restaurant. So I wanted to make sure that we give her flowers and that we honor that legacy from her dad, because it's a lot for small business owners, especially when you're a Black business owner,
Well, that is, I
to
mean, a nice
survive.
tribute and a piece of history, but also curly fries, right? I mean, come on. This is the
Yeah.
birth of that's where they were originated.
Yeah, so that's the history of it. I mean, when I say, give Holly her flowers and honor her dad's legacy, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The innovation of the curly Q fry machine. Now, because of the times, they weren't able to patent it and he didn't get credit for it. But it's a really valuable story that we need to share more.
So Dana Mall, the Stroll in Historic Durkeeville takes place December 28th from 9 to noon. It starts at the Emmett Reed Gymnasium on West 6th Street. There's tickets on Eventbrite. It's so nice to meet you. Thanks, Dana.
Thanks.